what are the four things that will help you? One, dispassion, vairagya. Yeah. Second, study of scriptures, going through Gyan Yoga. Third, obviously, a guru, a master, very, very important. And fourth, by persistent inquiry, self-inquiry. Who am I? These are the four ways that Vasistha has suggested. But he is saying that if you have a very keen intelligence, even without the aids of all these, you can achieve enlightenment. Yeah? The likes, people like Buddha, Meera, they all paved their own path. Kabir, they did not follow somebody or have a scripture to pick up after. They paved their own path. Yes. So such people are of keen intelligence. So he says, if you have that, a keen and awakened intelligence, you are really sharp, you can attain it even without these aids. Yeah. Can go ahead now.
Rama asked, Holy Sir, some there are who rest in self-knowledge, who are enlightened and yet engage themselves in activities, and there are others who isolate themselves and practice contemplation, samadhi. Of these, who is the better? Vasistha replied, O Rama, that is samadhi, contemplation or meditation, in which one realizes the objects of the senses are not self, and thus enjoys inner calmness and tranquility at all times. Having realized that the objects are related only to the mind, and therefore constantly resting in inner peace, some are engaged in activity while others live in isolation. Both of them enjoy the bliss of contemplation. If the mind of one who appears to be in samadhi is distracted, he is a madman. On the other hand, if the mind of one who appears to be a madman is free from all notion and distraction, he is enlightened, and he is in unbroken samadhi. Whether he is engaged in activity or he lives in isolation in a forest, in enlightenment there is no distinction. The mind which is free from conditioning is not tainted even while it is engaged in activity. The non-action of the mind is known as questions, samadhan. It is total freedom, it is blessedness.
Okay. So here, Rama asked this question. Why? Because he had heard that there are so many sages who go away to the forest. So in his head, he is now thinking, are these sages who abandon everything and go away to the forest, are they better? Or am I the son of a king who lives amidst, plenty and abundance? Just at, the beck and call of Rama, everything would just appear. So now he has this doubt, which one is better? Yeah? Going away to the forest is better, or being involved in day-to-day activity, being completely active, is that better? Yeah? And Vasistha responds that both are equally good, provided what? They have withdrawn from the objects of the senses. Yes? That is the most important thing. If we are still lost in anything we see, sense of sight, beautiful homes, beautiful men and women, beautiful cars, anything beauty, any beauty external. If we are lost in it, we are lost in the objects of sight. Yeah? If we are lost in somebody's words, he said something bad to me, she said this, why this why he said this, why she said this. If you are lost in words, you are lost in the objects of sound or hearing. Yeah? If you are lost in smell, yeah, it could be the smell of food, or it could be perfumes, or you are averse to it. Yeah? You are lost in the objects of smell. If sex or pleasures of the body attract you, yeah, you're lost in the object of touch. Yeah? And food. If even after eating food, constantly in the mind there is the thought of food, you're lost in the object of taste. Yes? A yogi is somebody who has withdrawn from these objects and has established himself within himself. Yes? Then it does not matter whether this yogi is in the forest or he is amidst activity, amidst his family, his friends, yeah? Amidst all the money and beauty in the world. But he is so established in the self that money, beauty, friends, family do not take him away from the center. So do you see it? Yeah? Both are fantastic where they are. So you do not need to run away to the forest. Right where you are, with your family, with your kids, you can reach enlightenment. Yeah? So we'll read this paragraph. O Rama, that is samadhi, contemplation or meditation, in which one realizes the objects of the senses as not self, and thus enjoys inner calmness and tranquility at all times. Here, at all times means even when he is amidst all the pleasures of the world that can tempt him, or he is amidst sorrow. This world itself gives you both pleasure and sorrow, no? So even sorrow does not take him away from his tranquil state of mind. Yeah? Having realized that the objects are related only to the mind and therefore constantly resting in inner peace, some are engaged in activity while others live in isolation. Again and again bringing this to your mind. Oh, this is just an object of the mind. Yeah, whether there is some sukha in your life, something good, something happy right now, or some dukkha in life, some sorrow. Yeah, whether it is because of a person, whether it is because of a thing or a situation, it does not matter. They are all objects. A person is a sense object, a particular thing is a sense object, even a situation is a sense object, and all these belong to the mind. So if you are going through a personal problem where there is any kind of dukkha that you are experiencing, completely disassociate yourself with it. It doesn't matter. This thing that is the cause of my dukkha is an object of the mind, and I am not the mind. Yeah? That's how a yogi lives, in contemplation. Both of them enjoy the bliss of contemplation. Doesn't matter whether it is somebody in the forest or somebody living in absolute activity at home with family. If the mind of one who appears to be in samadhi is distracted, he is a madman. Yeah? It's no use you're sitting and meditating, but while meditating you're thinking of that beautiful woman or that handsome guy or money. It's no use. Yeah? Such a person is crazy. That is what Vasistha is saying. On the other hand, if the mind of one who appears to be a madman is free from all notions and distractions. He is enlightened. Yeah? So, even somebody who might appear crazy to you, yeah, might be an enlightened soul. Yeah? On the surface, he is different, but at the center, he is really established. Yes? So, very simply put, do not judge a book by its cover. Yeah. He is in unbroken samadhi. Whether he is engaged in activity or he lives in isolation in a forest, in enlightenment there is no distinction. The mind which is free from conditioning is not tainted even while it is engaged in activity. The non-action of the mind is known as quiescence, samadhana. It is total freedom. It is blessedness. Sama, we've done this word before. Sama is equanimous. Yeah? Sama, dhana. Yeah? Not the samadhan in Hindi that you know, yeah? But an equanimous state where there is no sudden excitement at some joy or sudden depression because of sorrow. There is an equilibrium. Yeah? He is not attached to the external objects, and because of that non-attachment to an external object, he is completely free. That is freedom, and it is a blessed state. Not everybody can easily reach such a state. And how is this state reached? By the non-action of the mind. Yeah? Not just non-doership, non-action of the mind. One step deeper. Yeah? Where the mind does not exist. There is no movement of thought at all. Yeah? Complete silence. Nothingness. Yeah? Complete quiescence. Yeah? You can read ahead.
The difference between contemplation and its absence is indicated by whether or not there is movement of thought in the mind. It hence make the mind unconditioned. The unconditioned mind is firm, and that in itself is meditation, freedom, and peace eternal. The conditioned mind is the source of sorrow. The unconditioned mind is a non-actor and attains to the supreme state of enlightenment. Hence one should work to remove all mental conditioning. That is no nothing, in which all the desires and hopes concerning the world have ceased, which is free from sorrow, fear, and desire, and by which the self rests in itself. Mentally renounce all false identification of the self with objects here and then. Live where you like, either at home or in a mountain cave. Mentally renounce all false identification of the self with objects here and then live where you like, either at home or in a mountain cave. To the householder whose mind has attained utter quiescence, his house itself is the forest. If the mind is at peace, and if there is no ego sense, even cities are as void. On the other hand, forests are like cities to him whose heart is full of desires and other evils. The distractions of the mind subside in deep sleep. Enlightenment attains enlightenment. Do as you please.
So beautifully explained, na? The difference between contemplation and its absence is indicated by whether or not there is movement of thought in the mind. Yeah? If there is even a single thought in the mind, yeah, there is contemplation. Yeah? He's saying move away from a state where there can be even a single thought in the mind. Move to complete quiescence, complete silence. Yes? And how can that be achieved? By getting rid of the mental conditioning. Yeah? Make the mind unconditioned. The unconditioned mind is firm. Yeah? Unconditioned mind is firm. What is the meaning of firm? Firm could mean ego, no? Completely established. That is the meaning of firm here. Yeah? Steady. Yeah?
Without doubts.
Absolutely. Something which has a very strong foundation, as if your feet are completely grounded in knowledge. Yeah? In the understanding of the self, in truth. 100% solid. And that, the key to that is faith. Complete faith. Yeah? Faith not in a master, faith not in a scripture, yeah? But just faith in this present moment, in the now. Yeah? That mind is completely firm, completely steady. It has a very deep meaning here. The unconditioned mind is firm, and that in itself is meditation. Yeah? See, he's calling a firm mind to be a meditative mind. Yeah? Because it is actually so clear, so pure. It is actually no mind. And no mind is meditation. Yeah? It is also freedom. This unconditioned mind itself is freedom. When my mind has lots of conditioning of likes and dislikes and want and should be's and should not be's, there is too much chaos, too much noise. Yeah? Then there is no freedom, because my bondage itself is from these thoughts that are chitter chatter going on in my mind. When there is complete silence, that is freedom, that is peace. So an unconditioned mind is peace. The conditioned mind is the source of sorrow. The conditioned mind is the source of sorrow. The unconditioned mind is a non-actor and attains to the supreme state of enlightenment. Yeah? So what is the meaning of non-actor? Non-doer, you understand. I'm not doing anything, and I'm not even experiencing anything, but not even acting. Vasistha is taking you even one step further. Not acting. Just not there. As if non-existent. When your mind reaches this state of non-action or non-existence, that mind can easily attain enlightenment. Yeah? Hence, one should work to remove all mental conditioning. Homework number 1. Make your list again of all the mental conditionings. I like this, I don't don't like this, I want this, I don't want this, I'm angry about this and sad about this, blah, 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 blah. Whatever noise is going on here, no? Yep. Make that list. Compare it to a previous list. I'm sure Vasistha has given us this homework before. Yeah. Has the mental conditioning reduced? Am I working on it? If not yet, he's told you. First thing, one should work on removing all mental conditioning. And this self-effort of working on myself to remove this mental conditioning, this itself is known as contemplation or samadhi. Yeah. Slowly with this contemplation, what will happen? All desires and hopes concerning the world will cease. They will end. They will drop away. You become free from sorrow, fear and desire. And the self rests in itself. Yeah? So what is samadhi? Samadhi is a state where you become free from fear, sorrow and desire. Yeah? So if you have any fears, any sorrow or even a single desire, any of these three, this is all mental conditioning. Yeah? So you check. This is your checklist, homework for today. Are there still some fears in you? Are you still sad about something? Are you still feeling, oh, there is dukkha in life? Or is the mind still feverishly running after, I want this, oh, I don't want this, I don't want this? Is the mind still doing that? Yeah? Little bit of self-contemplation this week, huh? This is your homework. Yeah? And work on removing the mental conditioning. It's okay. This fear cannot kill me. It's nothing. It's a making of the mind. If there is a dukkha or sorrow, this dukkha really cannot kill me. I've gone through enough dukkha. Can I be stronger this time and not become a whiny, crying baby and go on meh because of this dukkha? Yeah. And if there is some feverish desire, it's okay if I don't get this. Let me see. Will I die without this? Till the time you don't challenge your mind, it will keep It is in your hands to, really take control now. Enough of the games of this mind. Yeah? So homework number 1, self-contemplation on the mental conditionings of fear, sorrow and desire. Yes? Mentally renounce all false identification of the self with objects. Here and then live where you like, either at home or in a mountain cave. Yes? This thing that you have, oh, this is my house, this is my wife, my husband, my child, my mother, my father, my. Drop that my. The moment you drop the my, the I will also drop. That is a sign of progress, when you see the I drop. Yes? That will be the first step, the first thing or your first milestone that you will attain. And when the I drops, then you feel this expanse within. It's always I that is associated with fear. It's always I that is associated with sorrow. And only I that says I want. Yeah? The moment that I drops, you will feel yourself expanding. Yeah? That inner freedom is the freedom from fear, sorrow and desire. Yeah? That in itself is samadhi. So he said, renounce all that attachment that you have with the objects and recognize this, that it doesn't matter whether you are in the forest or in the home. Yeah? You can still be established. You can still get enlightened. To the householder whose mind has attained utter quiescence, his house itself is the forest. If the mind is at peace, and if there is no ego sense, even cities are as void. Yeah? Ego sense again, get it? I. The moment the I drops, it doesn't matter whether you are in a forest or in your home. Yeah? On the other hand, forests are like cities to him whose heart is full of desires and other evils. The distractions of the mind subside in deep sleep. Enlightenment attains enlightenment. Do as you please. What does this last sentence mean? What deep sleep? You know, we've done this so many times now.
Constant awareness.
In
Fourth state.
how do you attain that fourth state? Loudly. Okay, very beautiful. Complete awareness. Yeah? We think that we are aware in this waking state. But even in this waking state, we are not 100% there. We are not 100% aware. That's the point, the main point of the basic course. Live in the present moment. Yeah? So awareness not just means eyes open, but being 100% there. Yeah? In every single activity from moment to moment to moment. Now this is just the waking state, when you become a master of being aware in all your 16, 18 hours that you are awake. Yeah? Then a window opens where even in your dreaming state in the night, you are completely aware. Yes? You see what is happening. Yes? And you are completely disassociated with what is happening. From the dreaming state, when this awareness attains complete maturity, you step into the deep sleep state, where you are aware of how you are sleeping, how your body is, yeah? Whether you're turning right or left. Yeah? Complete awareness. When that 100% awareness is there in your deep sleep state, you attain the ability, even at the time of your death. Death is nothing but a deep sleep state. Even at the time of your death, you will be 100% in awareness. And if you die in awareness, what happens? You break into that little window of liberation, which you can lose sight of if you are unaware, or you die completely, lights off. Yeah? And that window of liberation itself allows you to get enlightened. Yeah? So, when you are completely aware, you reach this fourth state, where there is constant awareness and a constant state of joy. and a constant state of dispassion with all objects of senses. That Turyavastha is what is called the gateway to enlightenment. Yeah? That is what is the meaning of the last statement here. Enlightenment attains enlightenment. Yeah. After knowing this, O Rama, now you do as you please. Yeah. Yeah? You can move ahead. Okay. Page 194. Who wants to read?
I can read.
Okay.
Vasistha continues. O Rama, the infinite consciousness becomes aware of the pungency of the chili. This gives rise to the ego sense, with all its differentiation in time and space. Infinite consciousness becomes aware of the Savior in salt, and that gives rise to the ego sense, with all the differentiation which seems to exist in time and space. The infinite consciousness becomes aware of the sweetness in sugarcane, and thereby arises the awareness of its particular characteristics. Similarly, infinite consciousness, being the indwelling omnipresence, becomes aware of the nature of rock and mountain and tree, water and space, and thus self-consciousness or individuality arises. Thus, the natural combination of atomic particles and molecules, which is involved by consciousness, apparently acts as a dividing wall, thus giving rise to the division of I, you, etc., and these then appear to be outside of consciousness as its object. In fact, all these are but reflections in the consciousness, which, becoming aware of them within itself, bestows upon them their apparently individuality. Consciousness tastes itself, the awareness being non-different from consciousness, and that appears to give rise to the ego sense, etc., not else. The crystal of this infinite consciousness reflects its own light of consciousness, which is present in all these combinations of atomic particles, and they then gain apparent self-consciousness and think I am, etc.
Okay.
In reality,
Okay. So, he's telling you how this consciousness, because of its own Maya, gets lost within all the five senses. Yeah? So, O Rama, the infinite consciousness becomes aware of the pungency of chili, and this gives rise to ego sense with all its differentiation in time and space. The infinite consciousness becomes aware of the savor in salt, and that gives rise to the ego sense with all the differentiation which seems to exist in time and space. The infinite consciousness becomes aware of the sweetness in sugarcane, and thereby arises the awareness of its particular characteristic. Similarly, the infinite consciousness, being the indwelling omnipresence, becomes aware of the nature of rock, mountain, tree, water, space, and thus self-consciousness or individuality arises. Yeah? Slightly complicated. You remember beginning of creation, Brahman? Yeah? Now I'll tell you another aspect of Brahman. Brahman has a principle or tattva called Mahat. Yes? This Mahat principle is like the energy which has the potentiality of creating this entire Prakriti. Yeah? The energy that actually creates everything is Mahat. Yes? This Mahat is like Maya itself. M-A-H-A-T, Mahat. This Mahat Tattva is like Maya itself, and this energy, this potentiality itself creates earth, water, fire, ether, air, and each of these 5 elements obviously have the 5 senses associated with them. We did an Ashtavakra. Yeah. Fire is who remembers? Fire is Chalo.
Eyes.
Yes. Sense of sight is fire. Second, sense of taste. Pretty easy.
Taste is water.
Water. Then sense of smell is earth.
Air is touch.
Perfect. Air is touch. And the last?
Ether is sound.
Yeah. So, all the 5 elements are related to the 5 senses. Yes. The Mahat has the potentiality of creating all of this and getting confused by the creation of all this and developing that ego sense. Yeah. What is the meaning of ego? Simple definition. Art of Living basic course, happiness program. What is definition of ego?
Jashri.
Ego is nothing but separateness. I and you are separate. This is ego. As simple as that. Mahat Tattva by its own Maya creates everything and decides I and you are separate. It creates earth and says I am separate, you are separate. It creates water, it says I am separate, you are separate. It creates ether, it creates air. Yeah? It does all this creation out of its own Maya and gets confused and says I and you are different. Here you is not a human being. I is also not a human being yet. Are you seeing this? Yeah? Here we are just talking about the beginning of creation. Yes? Duality, Dvaitam is born right at the beginning of creation. Yeah? That is what this talks about. The infinite consciousness, being the indwelling omnipresence, becomes aware of the nature of a rock, a mountain, a tree, water and space, and thus self-consciousness or individuality arises. Yeah? Means Dvaitam is born. Clear? First paragraph clear? Thus the natural combination of atomic particles and molecules apparently acts as a dividing wall, thus giving rise to the divisions of I, you, etc. And these then appear to be outside of consciousness as its object. Yes? It's the first Prakriti that has come out of Purusha only. But now that first Prakriti, which is just earth, water, air, that recognition of that Prakriti by this Purusha led to I and you, or led to Dvaitam, duality. Got it? That's exactly what is explained in the first 3 lines. Because Prakriti is nothing but atoms and molecules. Clear? Yes, and that atoms and molecules led to the apparent division in the mind, that it is different from I. Yeah? I here is the consciousness. In fact, all these are but reflections in the consciousness. which, becoming aware of them within itself, bestows upon them their apparent individuality. Yeah? Basically, they are all water bubbles only in the ocean. Yeah? But just because they have formed those bubbles, they feel they are different. That individuality of it being a bubble has also been bestowed by the water only. Yeah? So the consciousness is just like the ocean, and all these pieces of Prakriti that have come up in it at the beginning of creation are like those bubbles. Yeah? They are not different from the water. They are just reflections. Clear? Consciousness tastes itself, the awareness being non-different from consciousness, and that appears to give rise to ego sense, not else. Yeah? Because it's tasting, and that taste, the sensation of taste, makes it feel that there is other. Yeah? The same Dvaitam principle has been, expounded here on this page again and again. The crystal of this infinite consciousness reflects its own light of consciousness, which is present in all these combinations of atomic particles. And they then gain an apparent self-consciousness and think I am. Yeah? There is only one light, and it's white. Yeah? But when this white light gets reflected and refracted in different angles, somewhere it is red, somewhere it is blue, somewhere it is green, somewhere it is yellow. Yeah? Then the white light starts thinking, I am different from you, O blue, I am different from you, O red. This first sense of I am different, I and you, is the ego sense, or Dvaitam, duality. Yeah? That's the first two paragraphs. We go ahead.
In reality, because the inner awareness in all these combinations is non-different from the infinite consciousness, there is no subject-object relationship between them. Hence, one does not experience the other, gain the other, or change or modify the other. O Rama, all that I have said above is but a play of words to help your comprehension. There is no such thing as I or the world, a combination of atomic particles, etc. There is neither mind, nor an object of knowledge, nor the world illusion. Just as water acquires the appearance of the whirlpool with the personality of its own, consciousness seems to give the appearance of I, etc. within itself. But consciousness is consciousness only, whether it thinks of itself as Lord Shiva or as a liberal Jiva. All this diversity of I, you, etc., and all the material substances arise for the satisfaction of the ignorant. Whatever an ignorant person imagines in the infinite consciousness, that alone he sees. In the light of awareness, life is seen as consciousness. When it is regarded as life, life appears to be no more than life. There is, in reality, no essential distinction between life and consciousness. In the same way, there is no real and essential distinction between the individual, Jiva, and the cosmic being, Shiva. Know all this to be undivided and indivisible infinite consciousness.
So beautiful, no? Yeah? Everything is just that consciousness. All this he tells Rama that he was just playing with words to help him understand. Yeah? But in reality, there is nothing like earth, water, fire, ether, air. There is nothing like Mitesh, Subhu, Jayashree, Himanshu, Venkat, Mili, Prashanji. There is nothing like that. It is all just one consciousness. Yeah? It is all just one pool of energy. Yeah? Somewhere the energy, the same white light looks red. The same white light looks orange. The same white light looks yellow. But it in actuality is that same one white light. Yeah? There is no distinction. In reality, because the inner awareness in all these combinations is non-different from the infinite consciousness, there is no subject-object relationship between them. Yeah? How can there be a subject and object in one big pool of water? Look at your swimming pool. It's just full of water, and it's just water. You cannot have one water different from the other. You cannot say the space here in Chicago, in this room, is different from that space there in that room in Cincinnati. You cannot divide it. Yes? It is just an apparent notion in the mind. I have separated this space. I have trapped this space in these four walls in a city called Chicago, and I call this space as my home in Chicago. Same for that home in Cincinnati. Yes? Space cannot be divided. Do what you may. Or think what you may. Exactly like that. This consciousness cannot be divided. Because there is no difference. There is just no difference. Yeah? It's just the ignorant mind that thinks that there is some difference. Hence, one does not experience the other, gain the other, or change or modify the other. Yeah? So how much ever money you gain, you think it is the other. How much ever in relationships you are hurt, you feel the other has hurt you. All this is just your mind playing games with you. Yeah? It does not exist. O Rama, all that I have said above is but a play of words to help your comprehension. There is no such thing as I or the world. The same thing we did in Ashtavakra. You remember? Once Ashtavakra gave you homework, there are no people in this world. How many of you remember it? Yeah. There are no people in this world. He was talking on the same lines. There is no other. There is no other that can give you dukkha or sukha. Everything is this mind. Everything. The day this mind straightens its act out, all these people who are there in your life will just disappear. Yeah? You'll come to an utter state of quiescence. Yeah? It's all happening. Yeah? It's all a play and display of your own karma. Your mind has made up everything, including the people who are there in your life. Yes? And the moment this mind stuff stops, these people will disappear. Yes? There will be no people in this world. That's the state of a Jivan Mukta. Though he will still be in the body, but he will be free. Yeah? Because nothing will bind him. No people, no situations, no particular thing. Yeah? He is not lost in anything. There is neither mind, nor an object of knowledge, nor the world illusion. Just as water acquires the appearance of a whirlpool with a personality of its own, consciousness seems to give the appearance of I, etc. within itself. But consciousness is consciousness only, whether it thinks of itself as Lord Shiva or as a little jiva. Yeah? Just like in a huge pool of water there can be a whirlpool and you gave it a separate name, just like that. Yeah? One whirlpool is called Mitesh, one is Prashanjit, one is Aruna Aunty, yeah? One is Sandeep. These are all whirlpools. Yeah? They have given themselves individual names thinking, no, I am separate. Yeah? But there is no separate identity. It does not exist. Yes, your whirlpool will go around only as much as it can go around. One day it's going to come to a standstill. Yeah? And then all this identity drops off. Yes? That's when you actually realize, oh, I am just that consciousness. Yeah? Just that Purusha. And this realization comes to everybody at death also. Our only problem is that we do not remember anything. Memory does not work after the point of death. Yeah? Even when you are born, you don't remember anything. Does anybody remember their birth? No, no. You can't remember it. Yeah? That's the time when memory is completely switched off. But it is possible at the time of death to come to this awareness, this realization, oh, I am not this body. I am just pure consciousness. And that can only happen if you are 100% aware, 100% there. Yes? So don't think, oh, I have many years, 40 years, 50 years. No, we never know that. Huh? Start practicing right now. Yes? It's not too far. We never know that. So start practicing being awake, being aware all the time. Yeah? Has it started happening? At least are you aware that you're dreaming? Yes? Good. Are you sometimes aware that you're in deep sleep? The body is absolutely still. Once in, no? Some more awareness, yeah? Some more. A practice of constantly being here, constantly aware. Yes? Again and again, just the one basic course point. Live in the present moment. Yes? It's a very beautifully designed course and we are very lucky to have such a master. Yeah? You do not know if you take another birth whether you will have a master again or not. Whether you will have this opportunity again to understand all this. Yeah? So don't waste this time. Each one of you can get enlightened. Yeah? So start making that effort right now. Homework number 2, again and again. Yeah? Completely aware of how my body is sitting, how my hand is moving, what words are coming out of my lips, what thoughts are going, yeah? What emotions I'm feeling. Constantly aware. It doesn't matter whether you are sitting alone or you are sitting with 10 people in a meeting, in a boardroom, or if you are swimming or jogging or whatever you are doing. Every moment in every activity, 100% aware. Yeah? When you attain the skill in your waking state, you will be able to take it to your dreaming state. Yes? dreaming state. You can do this 100%. You will move into the sleep state. Yeah. So now take this seriously. The first time you heard states of consciousness, it was all just Yeah? Now you are graduates, postgraduates even. Yes. Now start applying this knowledge. 100% aware. Even if you are getting angry and shouting and screaming at somebody, just observe. Oh, see how anger is coming up. Where is the fire I am feeling? See what words are coming to me. See what rubbish I am saying. It's okay. Continue saying rubbish. Observe that you are saying rubbish. Be aware that you are just talking nonsense. Yeah? The more aware you become, you will see quieter and quieter this mind will become. You will say, shut up, what nonsense you are going to say now. Yeah? Even before a thought turns into words, you will be able to stop yourself. Yes? So take this up as homework number 2 for the week. Yeah? Complete awareness. Again and again and again. And if you are too bogged down by emotions, sit down and do some kriya. Yeah? Do some Hari Om meditation. If that doesn't work, give me a call. I'll set you straight. Yeah? But see that you start taming the mind. Yeah? The mind is the cause of sorrow. Sukhasya dukkhasya nakopi data. There is no other giver of sukha or dukkha. Both is the creation of my own mind. Yes. So that's your second homework for the week. All this diversity of I, you, etc. and of the material substances arises for the satisfaction of the ignorant. Whatever the ignorant person imagines in the infinite consciousness, that alone he sees. In the light of awareness, life is seen as consciousness. When it is regarded as life, life appears to be no more than life. Means what? When you become more and more aware in the waking state, in the dreaming state, in the deep sleep state, there is no difference between life and consciousness. Right now, you equate life with this body being alive, no? This piece of Prakriti being alive. Yeah? When you actually start being aware in all the 3 states and start even tasting the 4th, Turiya, you realize, oh, life is beyond this piece of Prakriti even. Life is equal to consciousness. Yeah? That is why I don't call this piece of Prakriti going through its karma life. That's not life. It's just a cycle of birth and death. That's it. Yeah? Life is several cycles of birth and death and birth and death and birth and death till you join the pool of consciousness. Yeah? Recognition, oh, I am that consciousness only. That whole chain is called life. Yeah? There is in reality no essential distinction between life and consciousness. In the same way, there is no real and essential distinction between the individual Jiva and the cosmic being Shiva. Know all this to be undivided and indivisible in finite consciousness. Yes, lots of homework today. Yeah. Start the process of unconditioning your mind. Yeah. Drop all fear, sorrow and desire. And homework number 2, constantly in the present, here, now, constantly aware. Yes? Both the homeworks clear? Any questions?
Small question. The page number 193, this last sentence, do as you please. What exactly that mean?
I have told you everything that I had to tell you. Now you do as you please. Because he said, na, whether you live in the forest or you live in the home, what is the essential thing? You withdraw from the senses and be established in the self. Yeah? Both decisions are fine. You want to leave everything, go to the forest, that is also fine. You want to stay in the home, that is also fine. Do as you please. But understand what is the most important factor. What is the most important factor? Your mind should be?
No mind.
Perfect.
But when you have your senses of going all the time, so it is, you get attracted easily and you're distracted very easily. I don't know. Both are same. How come?
Now that is the most important thing. If you are getting attracted to the objects of senses in this world, even if you leave everything, Venkat, today and run away, yeah, you leave your kids, leave your family, leave your job and go to the forest, this mind still goes with you. What will you do about this mind? This mind is going to keep thinking about Sushma and what she is doing and what your kids are doing and what is happening there, and oh, maybe I could have really made more money if I was back in that world. What am I doing like this as a yogi, as a sadhu? The mind can go wah, 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 wah. In that life also, you could completely create a chaos in your head. Got it? That is why he said, no, that a person in samadhi whose mind goes on and on, he is a madman. Yeah? So what is the most important thing? Being able to withdraw from these objects of the senses. And then he says, do as you please. You go to the forest, but understand this, that your mind will go with you. Got it? You understand this? Then do as you please. Got it? That's the meaning of that. Any more questions? All good? Okay. The next page is just a story. Yeah? Page 195 is Mandavya's story. Yeah? So you can read 2 pages at least. Yeah? Mandavya and Suraghu's story, 195 and 196. Yes? And then next week we'll begin with page 197. I'll see you next week. Jai Gurudev.